So the candidates last night were asked about the biggest threat facing the United States, and I wanted to show you their answers.
What is the biggest threat to who is the geopolitical threat to the United States? Just give me a one-word answer, Congressman Delaney.
Could you repeat the question?
Greatest geopolitical threat to the United States right now, Congressman Delaney.
Well, the biggest geopolitical challenge is China, but the biggest geopolitical threat remains nuclear weapons.
Okay.
Right? So those are different questions.
Totally get it. Go ahead, Governor Inslee.
The biggest threat to the security of the United States is Donald Trump, and there's no question.
Okay. Congresswoman Gabbard.
The
greatest geopolitical threat.
The greatest threat that we face is the fact that we are at a greater risk of nuclear war today than ever before in history.
Senator
Two
Klobuchar.
threats, economic threat, China, but our major threat right now is what's going on in the Mideast with Iran if we don't get our
Try to keep it at one, slimmer than what we've been going here. One or two words.
Our existential threat is climate change. We have to confront it before it's too late.
Senator Warner.
Climate change.
Yeah. Senator Booker.
Nuclear proliferation and climate change.
Secretary Castro.
China and climate change.
Congressman Ryan.
China, without a question, they're wiping us around the world economically.
And Mr. Mayor.
Russia, because they're trying to undermine our democracy, and they've been doing a pretty damn good job of it, and we need to stop them.
All right.
That de Blasio answer was so gross, I feel like I need a shower. Okay, so of those answers, here are the ones that I find acceptable. Nuclear war being the biggest threat. That's always a gigantic threat. And climate change. I find those two answers acceptable answers. I don't like the way they asked that question because they literally tried to keep them to just like one or two words. And that's not serious. Like, you need to have them explain it a little bit. I get the idea of having time limits. You want to give them like a 2-minute cap, that's fine. But 2 words? That's just it's too silly. Like, they're running to be the most powerful person in the world, and it's just ridiculous. So my answer to that question would have been weird, but I would have needed more than 1 or 2 words. I would have needed at least a minute to explain. But I think the biggest threat is ourselves, and it's corruption and money in politics. It's our broken, corrupt system, because it's the money in the political system that then leads to all the other issues being fucked up. The reason we're not acting on climate change is because of money from the oil industry and the fossil fuel industry and how they bought our politicians. The reason we're doing endless war is because of the military-industrial complex and how they bought our politicians and bought our political process. The reason we're not moving on having good tax policy and domestic policy and a living wage is because of Wall Street and corporate America. So it always links back to corruption and money in politics. So really, the biggest threat is the status quo. It's the corruption, it's the money in politics, it's the bribery, the legalized bribery. That's the biggest threat. But you can't say that in 1 or 2 words. So in lieu of that answer being the one that I think they should have given, climate change and nuclear war are 2 legit answers. I'm a little surprised that Tulsi didn't go with military-industrial complex. That would have been badass if she said that. But nonetheless, again, climate change, nuclear war were the 2 acceptable answers. I don't like the China answer. I don't like the Russia answer. I don't like the Donald Trump answer because it paints it too much as like he's the only problem. No, he's part of the problem. But, also the system that led to him is the problem, and we can't act like that was perfect.